Hello and welcome in. I am so happy and excited to have you today. My name's Kat, and thank you so much for tuning in to Thrive with Grace. Today, we're going to talk about something that typically happens after you've been working somewhere. And when I say working, I mean you've been putting in the hours and it's nonstop, it's constant. When you come home, you're still doing it, etc., etc. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about burnout. That's what I'm talking about. I dealt with this myself as an entrepreneur, and today we are going to focus on some tips and tricks that I have done to help kind of alleviate that. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe to my channel, because your likes and your subscriptions tell me that I'm doing a good job, and it keeps me motivated, keeps me coming back to share my journey with you. So let's start from the very beginning. When I first started my business as an entrepreneur, I was doing everything. I took every call, nonstop, in the office, at home. I never took time for myself. I never took time to reset, didn't take time for my family. It was just work, forever in a day. We need you to stop that. Don't be like me, because after a while it just gets so overwhelming, and we know that's not good for our stress levels. We know that's not good for our anxiety. So we're going to stop that right now. Tip number 1 is to set boundaries. So me, myself, if you don't know, I'm actually a real estate broker, and I do like investments. I do flips, I do buy and holds, things like that. But when I first started, I was taking calls all the time. I would even miss some after school activities that my children had to do. And when I was married, my husband had to work around my schedule. And one of the best things that I learned as a real estate broker is to set a firm schedule. Even though like you're your own boss, you're self-employed, you can set your own schedule. It can be 10 to 6, it can be 9 to 5, whatever works for you, but you need to set a schedule, and you definitely need to stick with it. If for some reason you have an appointment coming up, you have your kids' recital or something like that, guess what? Schedule that into your day. And if a client or someone calls, something comes up, just say, hey, I'm not going to be available during that time, and put them on another point during that day. I don't want you to feel bad because you can't take your client's call at that moment. You know what? You are valuable. Your client values you, and they are going to wait. You're offering a service, you're offering a product. They will wait. It took me a moment to actually realize that I had loyal clients that were willing to wait on me and willing to let me have a life. Eventually, what wound up happening is I would just tell them, hey, my daughter, she's got a recital coming up and I really want to be a part of it. Or my daughter has a game coming up and I really want to be a part of it. Can we look at houses another time? They would either say yes, no problem, or they'd say, oh my gosh, Kat, I really want to see this house right now. What I would do is I'd call another realtor and I would go ahead and schedule with them and maybe pay the realtor something. But I was not going to miss my daughter's event. For me, family is important. It's important to me because it keeps me grounded and it keeps me also focused, because 9 times out of 10, you're making these hard decisions. You're doing the hard work. You're clocking in and clocking out because you have a family to feed. You have a family to take care of. You have people that rely on you, and you're not going to be any good being burned out. Just being honest. Like, you know, we like to keep it real on this channel. So eventually I didn't feel any guilt anymore. I just went ahead and said what I needed to say. My clients either understood, and if they didn't understand, then I would find another means to make their request happen. But my little trick of saying I have an appointment during that time, it worked wonders for me. I also have a tip. The same tip applies to those that clock in and out. The same tip applies to those that have careers of their own. maybe try to lessen the amount of work that you bring home with you. Now, I understand we've got those individuals that work from home, but sweetheart, you're going to have to shut it off, okay? Set a schedule for yourself, and it gets cut off during that time. Even if it's going to be 8 p.m., it gets cut off during that time. Purpose in your mind that this is going to be the time that I will no longer do any work, and take time for yourself, decompress, reset, relax, relate, release. So that way you can go back to work more empowered, more satisfied, because you took time for yourself and you regrouped, and now you can focus. That's what we want. We want you to be able to focus. My next tip is to prioritize and delegate. Now, I realize this would be a little different when you're in the workplace if you do not have a secretary or an assistant or an admin, somebody like that that can take some of that load off of you. But depending on your position, you may be able to delegate some of those small, tedious tasks. For me, that was very difficult because I did not want to let go. I just couldn't believe that someone else could do something that I knew how to do. But it is possible. You can delegate certain tasks, writing emails, posting your social media, things like that. Those little tedious things that get on your nerves. Listen, you can train someone to do those things. Now, if you don't have an admin or an assistant or anything like that, what I want you to do is prioritize your task. That's what I want you to do. From the easiest to the most difficult, or for the most difficult to the simplest. It's entirely up to you, but I want you to create a system for yourself so that way you're not being overwhelmed, and also you're not forgetting what exactly needs to get done. Am I right? Because sometimes I can speak for myself. I put so many things on my list that by the end of the day, I don't always feel like I accomplished anything. And that's because I'm getting overwhelmed. Number one, I didn't even ask my assistant to help me. But number two, I did not make a list. I didn't make a checklist. So I don't know what was done and what wasn't. So I want you to prioritize the things that you need to do in your workplace. And if you have an assistant, I want you to use he or she a lot more frequently than you've been using them as of today. We want to utilize those tools. There are even apps now that help you prioritize your day. And I know what you're going to say, don't really become dependent on the apps. And I agree with you. But the idea is to help alleviate some of that stress, because we don't want you to get burned out. We don't want you to get sick and tired of going in and out of work. We're trying to make work a little bit more fun and just a little bit more friendly for you. I'll say it like that. My next tip, and this one is actually like a personal favorite of mine. I actually enjoy doing this now. Schedule regular breaks for yourself. I work from home nowadays. I have an office in my home, and I'm in front of the computer so much. Sometimes I'm in front of the computer so long that my eyes hurt. Sometimes I'll get a migraine. It's just a lot. And I know what you're going to say, just get a screen protector and it will alleviate all of that. But I have yet to get a screen protector. So let me tell you what I normally do to alleviate that myself. I go for a walk. I take 15 minutes out of my day, maybe after I've eaten a nice lunch or a nice snack, something like that, and I go for a walk. When my anxiety starts getting too much, or I'm feeling a bit of stress coming my way, I know that it's time for me to take a mental break, and I go outside and I go for a walk. If there's some reason I can't go outside, like it's raining or something like that, I will still walk away from the computer and just rest my eyes. I know that's crazy to think of, but honestly, it's the best thing for me. I just have to take a break and leave the computer. So for those in the workplace, I want you to attempt to do the same thing. Please start taking regular breaks. Your mind needs a break. And I go back to what I said. When it's time to clock out, do in fact clock out and leave your work where you left it. Do not bring your work with you. When I say take regular breaks, it doesn't have to be like 5-10 minutes. It can be 15. Or you can take an extra long lunch break sometimes. If your manager allows that, definitely check on that just to make sure. Because you can't say, well, Kat said, because they're going to be like, well, who's Kat? Check and make sure that you're allowed to do that first. And then go ahead and take your break. Maybe instead of taking that full hour lunch, you can go outside, reset yourself, call a family member or a loved one. Just do, your check-in, play a game on your laptop, something like that. That's just going to kind of free your mind up, because it's going to make the world of difference for you when you come back nice and fresh. All right, I want to share my 2 last tips for you. And don't worry, we're going to do another video on this because this was just too good. It's like a friendly reminder for myself to take care of myself. Isn't that the whole purpose of this channel? Isn't that why we're talking to each other? Exactly. My last 2 tips: work smarter, not harder. And my personal absolute favorite, self-care and mindfulness. Now, working smarter, not harder. I want you to utilize that assistant, maybe batch some of the items that you need to do together, and remember to prioritize from simplest to most difficult or difficult to simplest, because doing those checklists, I don't know about you, but for me, they made a world of difference for me. I was actually feeling like I got things done, I got things accomplished. Set a goal for yourself at the beginning of your workday. As a matter of fact, maybe plan the night before your workday so that you already know what needs to be accomplished and what needs to be handled. And that way you're not scrambling and worrying yourself about something that you may or may not have forgotten. That will make a world of difference for you. And pace yourself. You don't have to get everything done. I understand if you have a deadline and all that, but pace yourself when you're at work. Don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed. Give yourself what? Grace. That is what I want you to give yourself. Give yourself some grace, because, honey, burnout is just not gonna work for you and your family. Because if you get burned out, you're not gonna be productive. Your boss is gonna notice something's wrong. Your manager's gonna be like, well, you're not working the way that you used to work, and everybody's gonna have a problem. And if you're anything like me and you're an entrepreneur, sweetheart, if I don't work, I don't eat. So we don't have time for that, do we? No, we don't. Last but not least, worry about that self-care, honey. Self-care for me is just everything. It allows me to reset myself. I love on myself. I take care of myself. I do nightly facials. I'm making sure I get that 6 to 8 hour of sleep. And, read a good book. Do something that you love. If you love watching movies, go and watch a movie. If you love reading books, go and read books. Do something that you are going to enjoy, because you deserve it. Absolutely. So that's it for now. I hope that these tips were beneficial for you. I hope that you can apply them in your workplace. And for my fellow entrepreneurs and business owners, I definitely hope it worked for you. Remember to prioritize yourself. Continue to put yourself first. Remember that you matter, that your feelings matter, that you are important and you are valued. Give yourself some grace, because it's necessary. If you haven't already, remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. God bless.